It's so lovely to have so many people in the same room for a session like this. We were just saying earlier how much we missed being able to do that, so it's great to have you here. I'm Gillian Hamilton. I'm the Interim Chief Executive of Education Scotland, and it's a real privilege for me to be able to do the introductions this afternoon. Before I do that, I have some strict instructions. There's no fire alarm planned, but there are 3 fire doors behind you. We exit down the stairs and we gather in Dixon Street. And please not let that happen, because I've worn high heels today and my feet are really sore. So if we have to leave here quickly, I'm going to have a problem. And the other thing in terms of housekeeping is that we're filming today. So I think we know that that's okay, but just if you're asking questions during the session, just reminding you that you're being filmed. It's not about what you might ask, it's just about you being on the film, so we wanted to let you know that. So as I said, it's a real privilege for me to do the introductions today. And Shan helpfully gave me some of your career history, and I was just saying to Ger, this is probably going to take me an hour and a half, so I'm not sure how much time we're actually going to have for the conversation, so I'll try and keep it really short. But what I wanted to say actually before I introduce you both is that in Scotland and in Scottish education, we've got a really strong tradition of looking at our own practice, our own work, but also looking outwards to learn nationally and internationally about excellent practice to help us think about what we want to do moving forward. So today I think is a fabulous example of us being able to do that. And across many years in Scottish education, Reggio Emilia is a place that we have learned so much from and about. And this is going to make me feel really old. But Education Scotland has a link with Reggio Emilia a way back, Shan kindly said, to the last century. And when I was preparing for this afternoon, in that last century, I was a head teacher in East Ayrshire at that point, and we learned so much from Reggio Emilia at that time. We had a whole number of head teachers and early years leaders who visited and really importantly brought practice back that really influenced our practice in East Ayrshire. But the fact that it was last century really worries me when I'm sharing that. So 24 years on, it's a real honour for us to be engaging in this discussion today, revisiting it this century, because it really aligns with practice that we think is sector leading, and I would actually say world leading in Scotland and the work that we've taken forward in terms of the early years guidance, realising the ambition being me. And that's been so well received, and we can see through that guidance the influence that you have both had in that. So, about you both.
Thank you.
Carla and Ger. Here's the long career. So Ger moved from the Netherlands to the UK in the 80s. So he's remembering last century too. It's not just me.
About, yeah.
To begin his teaching career. And he moved into school leadership. He became an education advisor and later a senior inspector for 2 city councils. And Ger was also the director of 2 education action zones. So a real interest for us, I think, in terms of the attainment challenge and taking that work forward in the south of Manchester, where he led improvements in both quality and standards across 29 schools. He was the founder and chief exec of the Children's University and the first global director of education at Kidzania, an organisation that aims to inspire and empower from inspiration to aspiration through the world of work and role play for 4 to 14-year-olds. And Professor Graus has been and is at the heart of that innovation and project development in projects such as the Global Barometer of Children's Wellbeing Concept, Kidzania World Online and Ambassador Schools. And as well as that, he's worked with universities across the world and his impact has been recognised through numerous academic and education awards, including an honorary doctorate by Staffordshire University and an OBE in the 2014 Queen's Birthday Honours List. So in terms of background, skills and knowledge, I think that tells you the wealth of experience that's going to be part of this conversation today. And Professor Carla Rinaldi has a similar background and lens and is also a world leader in education for children in their early years. She's really well known to Scottish education and Scottish early childhood educators as one of the real authorities who we and others often reference in our work and in our professional learning that we use to support wider development. So a long and illustrious career. You worked as a pedagogista and then as a pedagogical director at Reggio Emilia. I'm telling you this, Carla, but you know this.
No,
Sorry.
It's Scottish, I don't know, so it's nice.
At Reggio Emilia, preschools and infant toddler centres from 1970, working side by side with Lawrence Malaguzzi. And in 1994, Carla became a consultant for Reggio Children and later its president. In 2011, Carla became the first president of the Reggio Children Lawrence Malaguzzi Centre Foundation, and you're also a professor in the Faculty of Education at the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia. She's been visiting professor at Webster and Colorado universities in the USA, and I love this title, and was thinker in residence. I'd like that job, thinker in residence at the University of Adelaide, supporting and challenging South Australia to reimagine childhood. And Carla has spoken all over the world and has published many articles, chapters and books, both in Italian and English. In 2015, Carla was awarded with the Lego Prize and became a member of the advisory board of the Lego Foundation in Denmark. So, with such illustrious, long and amazing careers, I don't think that we have a better opportunity for you to spend some time with us this evening to help us take that closer look at Reggio Emilia and what it can teach us about our own approach, where we are now, where we might go yet, by eavesdropping, because we're going to be part of a conversation, by eavesdropping in a conversation of two old friends who just happen to be global experts. And we're also delighted that it's a conversation that we can be part of, because I know that you're happy to answer questions at the end of the discussion, but you're also happy for questions to come during the discussion.
Yes,
so that means it hopefully will be a true conversation. So without further ado, Ger, I'm going to hand over to you to kick that conversation off.
Thank you so much. Is this audible? Thank you. The idea of the layout was that you're on the sofa. And please, seriously, just ask the questions as and when they come, because one, it's a good flow, and secondly, if you're anything like me, by the end of it, you've forgotten what you're going to ask anyway. Right? So often that there's no point in that, I think. It's a strange privilege to be here. Haven't been in Glasgow for a very long time. My last time was when we started the Children's University in Scotland, so that's going back a while. And this image of the girl I call Lucy, the image was sent to me by her mum, Kirsty, over a decade ago when it was taken, because I'd done an interview with the people of Kelvin Grove and that got published. So that's what that was. And the image became the stimulus for our first conversation. So there's a Glasgow connection, because I'm kind of in educational terms Benjamin Button. I'm going backwards, right? So I was secondary trained, and with all the symptoms, you think you know it all. You're a subject specialist, and you begin to realize that, and you'll recognize this, right? When you begin to work in areas where the disadvantage is a big word, and where kids are up against it, you also understand that more of the same kind of doesn't work, and that you need different things, and that those different things don't lie in the subject expertise, but they lie in the engagement and the commitment and how you hook things in and how that works. So I found myself doing two things. One is leaving the very tight secondary school agenda and starting to look outside, hence the Children's University and later Kidzania. Then you begin to ask, well, how does that work? How does that make a difference? And what are the differences? And how do we know? And how do we record keep? And how can we innovate? And then all of a sudden, you become converted. So Rinaldiism kind of came to me, I don't know, well over 10 years ago. And I started working with Reggio. We became very good friends. I now act as a kind of advisor, and I'm very proud to do so. And we constantly explore that issue of, well, how does that work in certain circumstances? Because the one-size-fits-all thing doesn't work. My wife's school is in one of the most disadvantaged wards in England, and the Reggio approach for those children is different to other parts, and it has to be, because those children are different. So we work those things through, and then we realize that friendships are better than normal ships, and that you need partnerships to do this. And now we're back here. We had a great train journey, and we had a great evening, and it was a brilliant morning, and thank you so much for the invitation, and thanks to Sean and colleagues for making this happen. So what we wanted to do really is kind of talk and make a start, and then you please just join in, yeah? Seriously. And I wanted to go to the person who I think, and I'll say this for the second time today, and I know she shakes her head, and you can shake your head whatever you like, who in my book is the most influential and most important educator since the Second World War anyway. Because I can think of people who taught me how to teach German. I can't think of people who taught me how to value children. Okay, and therein lies the brilliance. And Carla, hello. If we can start, please, with a kind of a big thing that is, I think, is not just about early years, and I don't think it's not about children. It's also about communities and parents and big kids, and that's to do with values and principles and ethics and morality in today's education, and particularly with a focus on truth. What is that? And trust. And I think the trust is in two ways, please. One is as a personal one. We trust the child trusts us. But also in trusting the truth. It's become very complex. And it's very complex for young people. So do you want to start us on that?
Yeah, for sure I have to start. I will try not to apologize too much for my English, but yes, Pat, I know that you say no, but I don't feel comfortable because, especially when I am in your world, I'm so powerful today. What did I do? In general, I broke everything. I want to honor in this way not only your perfect English, but your country, and especially Scotland. And because I admire your history, I admire your people, the people that you are. I admire all the fighting that you have done. I admire your culture, and I admire my friends here, and I'm. It's a good thing if you don't hear. So I said grazie to everybody, and grazie for this opportunity to be here with you and with a lot of friends. The old one that I see in the room and the new one that came today, and they will come because I know that many of you have been done a big effort for coming here. So thank you very much. Thank you, my dear friend, for your beautiful question. This one is a very special one. I think that nowadays, more than ever, if we want to talk about education, not just school or teaching, but education as the duty that links us to life. Because generation move from one period to another thanks to education. That means from the Latin ex ducere, we have to remember, bring out from people, from a person, ex ducere, take off, bring out, I don't know, choose what is better, what they have in. So, but also to give meaning to what they can express and what they can offer to the others and to the world. Each of us is a possible treasure. It depends from those and what they encounter during life. And the ethics of education is really, first of all, to recognize that, first of all, each of us is unique. Think about this in a very deep way. Bring home this. No one will be like you. No one was like you in the past and will be. So you are a unique piece that we have in front of us. We have to take the responsibility of this. And it is an ethic responsibility that societies and communities have to take. And it becomes more evident, but we will have during the conversation possibility to explain this better, if we think that our uniqueness is such as because of you. Without otherness, I cannot be unique. I need you as you need me. And this means reciprocity and interdependency. That in my view are the other key value. The uniqueness of each of us, but that is interdependent from you. Take this as a treasure, and treasure this. Because we become indispensable for our historical period, for our colleagues, for our children, for life. And this uniqueness is also what we can offer to the other if we encounter opportunities that can help us to express the best of us and to be more diverse because we are closer to the other. So diversity is another element and another value. It's enormous nowadays to talk about diversity as a value. Because there are thousands of diversity. Some are quite easy to recognize, some are not. I come from a country where today too, a lot of people in the island in the south of Italy are coming from other countries, and they bring their diversity to us. This is a diversity hard to recognize and to welcome. But it's also the diversity that the nature offers us. Because we have to remember that another value that make philosophy any more philosophy, but ecosophy, the other big difference is that it's not anymore true that this is humanity or man and the nature. Cannot be any more in this way. We are nature. And the interdependency that we are talking about is that one that or we are able to move, to recognize and to develop, or something really hard is going to happen. So education nowadays means to find the truth, and you said truth and trust. To find that trust, a root trust here on my hands, is what I define as reciprocity. And is what links us to the children and to the world. And is the most exquisite, exclusive value that I can offer to a child and to you. And truth Is something given or something that we have to search and research. Nowadays, with the artificial intelligence, is easier or more difficult?
It's much more difficult.
It's more difficult, but does not mean that technology does not help. Means that we need more and more to be aware that the process are fundamental for building trust and truth. Trust and truth. And the process and time. We don't talk about time, but time is the secret. Time is amazing how important it is. So trying to summarize, I believe that ethics has to become a word to bring home. Don't let ethic value, only to judge or philosopher or researcher. Ethic and moral have to become, as educator more than ever, our real key elements. What is ethic? Are practical idea that I tend to apply everyday life. It's not something there. Ethic is not there. Ethic is here. In the way in which I open the door and I welcome a person, in the way in which I don't push when I am online. In Italy, if you drive a car, ethic is dead. Because every time everybody is a disaster, not only to drive in Italy. Is a disaster. I don't know if here too, but the arrow is not used anymore. Everybody go right and left, and they go. But this is an expression of what we are losing. And the role of the school, starting from the early year, is the best place for rediscover ethics, values as those that I said, but you know much more and many more, and the way in which you put on practice in the daily life. Unfortunately, to educate is also to be an example. Unfortunately. This is hard for us and more hard for parents. This is why to educate is so hard. It's not enough to talk as I am doing. It's to act. Ethics in acting. Was enough?
Yeah, for now.
For now? But no, I think is really my opinion. And we didn't prepare this question. That is why I love him so much.
I think can you hear me like this? I prefer to do without the mic. Can you get me, yeah?
So they are able to...
Because I'm loud and I live in England, that's why. There's a couple of things here, really. I wanted to talk a little bit about Mrs. Poole. I'll come to Mrs. Poole in a minute. But firstly, there is this thing that if you are working in the education professions as teacher or whatever, just let this sink in, right? In 50 years' time, somebody will mention your name. There is no greater honor, and how it gets mentioned, incidentally, is up to you, right? But that takes me to the role we play, the example we are, what gets copied. And it isn't big. It is about opening doors, and it is about courtesy and kindness and all those traits that we haven't got time for anymore, seemingly, somehow. We need that back, and we need to model that. So in 50 years' time, somebody will mention I'll sit here, and every time I use that quote, I do this. I'll mention my German teacher. Without my German teacher, I wouldn't be here. He trusted me. He gave me a book. I read the book, and like Oliver Twist, I went back the next day, and I asked for more. And I became a German teacher because of him. Not because his German was brilliant, which it was, but because he trusted me, and I trusted him, and he worked with me. So I mention his name, Huub Beurskens, who's now in the south of the Netherlands in an old people's home, and I see him whenever I can. Mrs. Poole was my eldest daughter Anna's first teacher, as she says. And up to Mrs. Poole, I was everything. Daddy, 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 daddy. And then at some September in 19, whatever it was, late 90s, she goes to little school. And from that day, Mrs. Poole, Mrs. Poole, Mrs. Poole, Mrs. Poole. And I'm sitting there going, oh, whoa, what's happened here? What's happened to daddy, daddy, daddy? And it was Mrs. Poole, Mrs. Poole. That's you, every day. We don't realize that sometimes. We haven't got the time to stand still and think, but that's, and what we model is what our message is. And when I go to my wife's school, I see this, because it's entirely what that school is built on, partly because of the context of the children. So it's even more deliberate. It's brilliant. I walk in, and these kids go, how are you? I recognize you, Mr. Kidzania, or whatever it is. But there's always banter, there's always politeness, there's always opening the doors. And we model that, and that doesn't happen in the classroom. That isn't planned for 50 minutes or whatever it is. It's just there, it's part of what we are, and that's why we get that mention. I think these things are harder to achieve in areas and where children have contexts that are difficult, that are challenging, that are poor, whatever the wrong description is, because every word feels awkward, disadvantaged, whatever. But you know what I mean. So, Carla, I wanted to ask you about this. The Reggio approach, and in Scotland, equity is high on the agenda. Quite right. And it is with you. But is it a concern to you that you mentioned Lampedusa and many people from many places in the world entering Italy, and that's difficult? Is it a concern to Reggio as an approach and to you as the president that the equity piece is becoming more difficult? Or is it not?
For sure it is. Is another huge words, not easy to not to put on practice, to practice. I come from a region, many of you were there, in a city where we grow up as a community. And we want to maintain this feeling of being a community where interdependency. You remember the history of the first school, brick by bricks, where everybody is a symbol. What does it mean to educate? The famous village that is needed for educating a child, but also the famous child that is needed for educating a village. I grew up in an area like this, where the majority of us were farmers, then the industry, and then everything. But where to be a community was to welcome all the differences and give value to them. Also sometimes fighting with a divergency, but again, always with a great respect, recognizing dignity, the other key words, to that person. And social equality has been equality and socially has been our welfare, our organizing school, services, public, paid by the community and the states, for everybody. We had a big phenomenon of immigration from the south to the north. But they saved our economy, and they challenged the new immigration that come from Lampedusa, that means from the northern and central part of the phenomenon. I don't know if here on the newspaper you are aware enough of what is going on there. It's amazing. And what happened to their children? It's terrible. A lot of them, they died during the... Anyway, even if of this, in one of the most religious area of Europe, we are scared. They are too diverse from us. They bear use, and so it's something really very, very challenging. And but the only one that we have is to welcome them in our schools with their family, and ask to our family to welcome them, helping to become part of the community. The challenge nowadays is enormous, but there are two other phenomena that can help us. We are aging as a society. They bring new energy to us. First. Second one, new energy and new strength, physical strength. They can be worker. The other big issue is that they bring differences, that have different alphabets, but they can be a way to regenerate our community. But again and again, if these words will not be only good proposal, but can become reality, good practice, a big effort. The only way is to organize a qualitative school where the children can be, like you are doing, you are trying to do better, qualitative education. Not just education, place where not only they have to learn, but because they learn anyway, as we said this morning, but they can learn how to learn. Qualitative learning. Place where the teacher can be learn how to learn, not because they come to conferences with Carla, Rinaldi or others, because they can reflect as a team with a colleague, and the children can learn also as a team. You can learn with others, but learn, what does it mean? It means to create connection with the world and with the otherness. So my answer is that it's a very delicate moment in Italy, in Europe, for our future, not because I feel that we are completely on risk, because we are acting through them, through the digital and the technology, an enormous revolution. But we have to preserve the highest quality of being human. And the highest quality of being human are the secret of our children. The children, and also our teenagers, they need to be trusted, as you need to be trusted. not as only teacher, but educator and politician in the noble meaning of the word, you can really become those that can renew the meaning of being a teacher, not the person that knows how to do, but research with the children, the family, and the community, the humanity that we have and we are. We are losing our humanity. I'm not tragic, it's what is happening. And you are the guardian of this.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of being a teacher. It's difficult. We are not recognized and everything, because the children are not recognized as the treasure of the future. This is their weakness and our duty. Do you want to add something?
Just
Or
that
they
it's,
can add.
just I think it is a very difficult thing, but we need to look for a change in mindset that diversity is something not to be scared of, but it is something to be welcomed. And there is that thing, isn't there, that, you know, we need to build longer tables, not taller walls. And in essence, what we need is, I'm a big football fan, right? So Barcelona Football Club is one of my favorite clubs. And one of the reasons it's one of my favorite clubs is because its motto is Més que un club, which means more than a club, because it's owned by its membership. And I think schools should become more than a school, because it should be owned by its membership. Whatever that membership is, if it's very diverse, in my wife's school, 26 languages, whatever, it doesn't matter, as long as the ownership is there. So we need to look differently at our schools, at our little schools, and particularly at our big schools. Because there is something else, and I want to come to that in a second, which is that we have a brilliant history of looking after younger children really well. And those same younger children then end up in places with 2,000 or more peers. That's an economic decision. That's not an educational decision. And I think we need to look at the journeys that those individual children make. But we need to move to that concept of more than a school and look at what that means. Build scaffolding around every child so that they can climb as high as they can or want to.
This morning we had a reflection about the children as citizens from the birth.
Yeah.
To act on this concept is a huge duty that we have to ask to the politics. Does not mean only to build a good qualitative service for all the differences that we are, because there is a difference that we don't embrace, but male and female, the gender difference, that is another huge one to work on a lot. But to welcome the children's citizenship means, for example, to change our hospital. If you go to the hospital with a child, you can find very good pediatrician, but if he has to stay there for a night or 2 or 3, the organization that does not recognize the child as a citizen, but only as a child of the mother and the father that have. So if you look at the train, if you look at the bus, if you look at the restaurant, and you go there with a child, so there is enormous revolution. If you are convinced, as we are in Reggio, we continue to dream, and we want to have you as a dreamer with us, having a vision. If you can continue to believe that the only possible regeneration is if we start from children and from us. The real deep change of paradigm that include peace as essential part. That's another key concept. The peace is not only the absence of war, it's the recognition of your existence with all your differences is enormous exercise. But if I remember another conversation that we had, I was told I don't know if this morning or yesterday, that the Scottish are not simply Scottish, are Celtic and not Gaelic, Gaelic.
Gaelic.
And another, so you were migrant. Italian were more than migrants. We are immigrants and emigrants. And many of us has the terrible history in the back of the family traveling to United States and waiting for being admitted. So there are many reasons, but also not only looking at human being, but all the species that are on the earth. But the only people that can do are obviously politicians that support you. And Reggio can be a tool for understanding, not a good didactic, but really a large political vision of what childhood can be in this phase of humanity.
Thank you.
You're welcome, my dear. Thank you.
No, that's good. I wanted to, it's come up a couple of times, technology. Now, on the train yesterday, I was getting very animated about technology because whilst I'm incapable of turning on the lights at home, I'm a big advocate of technology. I think it can bring awe and wonder in a way that we've never been able to imagine. My daughter wants to study Spanish at university. She's in touch with people from all over the world. It's mind-blowing. As a former languages teacher, I look at this and I think I want to go back into the classroom now. And but technology also has its downsides. Although I do firmly believe that we should never blame technology because technology has humans behind it. Yeah, so it's a simple excuse to say it was the car that caused the accident. No. It's more likely to be the driver, right? So we need to have that. But your reaction was less enthusiastic than mine, it's fair to say.
This is the beauty of our friendship. No, I love friendship. It's one of the best qualitative relationship and interdependence that you can develop in your life, especially when you have a different opinion. You can cultivate your diversity. And the other can help you to become better, but never want to change you. That's a big mistake that women especially tend to do, with men especially. The big thing is, I was taught that technology started when we start to write. We were, how do you say, era prehistory?
Yeah.
Prehistory? Preistoria.
Yeah.
That's Italian. To write on the wall with something that was able. So technology started. This is technology. This is more than a technology. It's not that I disagree. I really would like that we could take, we educators first of all, including parents and citizens, but educators, not simply teachers, you know what I mean. The responsibility of the other intelligence, not only artificial, that is indispensable. No doubt. When Malaguzzi was still alive, unfortunately more than 24 years ago. We discussed this with Simon Papert, MIT, the professor, the first program for children. And there were some doubts. Now no doubts. This kind of spatial technology has to come in not only our life, but in the life of children. But as you say, it helps us to become more human. Cannot be a substitute. And we need artificial technology, but also sensorial technology. We have to recognize our body, all what we can do and know through our senses, to recognize the beauty of hearing, smelling, tasting. And the body is the first huge technology that we have, because it helps us to be connected with the world. And those children that unfortunately are not, are a little bit disadvantages. They can tell us a lot about what they lose in terms of possibilities. It is the best technology, our body, to be connected with. If we have this kind of education to recognize my body, but also the body of a tree, the body of any tool, the energy that comes from things. This kind of technology can really give strength. As a microphone allowed me to talk to you. Seriously. And more intelligent it is. And if you could correct my English, in your English, could be fantastic. But my English, not its English. I don't know if it's clear. This is what we need. Not someone that is our substitute, but to maintain not the control, but the dignity of being human. That is more than a control, is the beauty. And we need to continue to cultivate our empathy. No machine can have what I see in your eyes now. Emotions. I cannot live without emotion. And the children are the teacher for emotions. They are for empathy, for everything. I was discouraged, and I stopped, sorry. When I was with someone, an academic, that said to me, we were talking about animism and the phase of Piaget. You know, I don't know if you still study. When I was young, I had to study the famous Piagetian phases. And the first was animism. And he defined it as a primitive phase. No, it's the art. When they go to the table and do this, it's fantastic. If you help them to discover that is alive at the table, but not because it's animated, but because and so. So the key is really to be able to use technology and not to be used, to be reciprocal. I can teach and I can be taught, but not to be abused by. And with the teenager, because as you know, we look at the 0.99, no more only 0.6, but starting from 0.6, we want to go there. Also, the teenager has a right to be trusted and has the right to be recognized as a bearer of a lot of these qualities.
Thank you. I think for me the issue of the substitute is really important. And COVID did some interesting things, didn't it? One, I mean, if you look back now and you find some time to look back, I think, so COVID was a 999 call. It was an educational 999 call, right? And the educational ambulance arrived, didn't it? And it arrived on time. And I think we did amazingly well. If I look at my youngest daughter's school, it was quite brilliant what they did. And I can sit back afterwards and kind of do that stuff, or they should have done this and they should have done that. You know, that people have forgotten, clearly, right? Short memories or whatever. It was amazing. And it was brilliant. But her happiest day in 2020 was when she went back to school. When she was with her mates and with her teachers, and she could seek out that human contact. And I think if one thing stuck with her, now as a nearly, it's funny, isn't it, when they're 17, they're always nearly 18, yeah? As a nearly 18-year-old, she values her teachers and being with teachers more than she did before. She recognizes that. So I don't think there is a matter of substitution. And for those who try to program us to learn online all the time, they can go away, because that's just not going to happen in the end. And it's a choice that the children will make, because they will seek that human contact. And it was brilliant to see her, you know, when she came back from school that day, it was really emotional, because she was happy. She was really happy.
Oh, Lord,
and at home, she had been working hard. She's a good kid. But the happiness had kind of gone a little bit when she came back from school. So you know, you have to say, teachers, that's just brilliant. Carla, I wanted to come to something that we talked about this morning as well, and that you and I, in our travels, come across all the time. And it's a really simple thing, but I think it's a very disturbing one. And it is this, that early years education, early years learning, whatever terminology we want to use, is not taken seriously. Okay? Because for some it's childcare, for others it's an economic solution, depends on who you are. But it is one of the very few things that I can think of in life that we do the wrong way around. When we build a house, the stronger the foundation, the higher we can go. When we grow a plant, we water it and we feed it from the roots. But what we do in our schooling system is we put most money in the chimney, and we water it from the leaves. And it strikes me as fundamentally wrong. And it's a discussion that we have everywhere and every time we meet. And there isn't a solution here, by the way, this afternoon for those of you who are looking hopefully. But I think it's a discussion worth having and sharing some thoughts about.
There is other people here that can help
Yes.
us in... Oh, sorry. I said there are other people here that can...
What is it you think we need, what needs to happen? Apart from more money and the politicians' change of mind, we know that. But what actually needs to happen? What else needs to happen?
I think, but really we need also your opinion, that to make, again, more visible the beauty, the competence of the children, that are also your beauty and competencies. In a society of visibility, where what is visible is true, that is not true, but is true. This is the era of images. To make them what they are able to do, what they can offer us, how they are sources, what Reggio has been doing all the time. We are a tool. I hope that we are more for our children. I hope that we are much more for our community. But we give them the strength to continue to invest the 16% of the budget of the municipality of Reggio Emilia in early childhood education. It means not only to serve families that can pay less or more based on the concept of equality that we have been able to develop, but means to recognize that childhood is, first of all, an indispensable not only phase of our life, but an indispensable presence in our societies. And remember that childhood does not exist if it's not politically defensed and expressed, and is not made visible by you. Visible not only through pictures, but many ways, feast and because feast and exhibition and whatever you can do with the community where you are, with the parents that are indispensable alliance, even if it's difficult. Nowadays, as it was and more than in the past, I renew this alliance between children, first of all, teachers and parents, within the community, able to renew the memory how childhood exists only if it is politically and culturally recognized as an indispensable subject. It's not enough an important document like Revisiting Ambition that is a key moment, and I thank really your Minister of Education and everybody has contributed to this very important document. If we don't help the document to be alive every day and to make visible what we saw and we see in our school, if we are trusted and we trust our children, our parents, our community. Trust is a process, it's not a state. So I think that the most important among many other political, economical reasons, Malaguzzi used to say, children don't vote. They don't go to vote. It's a terrible sentence, but can be one of the many why we have to continue to fight for the defense and the rights of children, and the rights don't become duty for societies and politicians all over the world, why they continue to be abused as women are. This is the big issue that I cannot explain, we cannot explain, but is one of our responsibility because we are teachers. And to be a teacher means to be an active person, to be a political in the large meaning, to support the policy regarding education in general and early years education. Because now science tells us something. Remember this always. The first 1,000 days of our life are the most important. We have paper that say this. And every day we had news about this. Not only because the scientists are publishing, but because of what you see. And what you see is your responsibility, my dear. No one can substitute you. You have to ask more for this, to be guaranteed of certain things. But you are the real cultural mediator for your children. And your children not only at home, your children at school. The teacher always, they have their own children, my children, when they go out. My children are my children. And you understand immediately that are not their own children at home, but are the children that they have at school. My children do it, my children don't do, and that's... so, again, I think that the children are invisible, because also the teachers are invisible. We are the less paid all over the world, wherever you go, but it's not a status. We have to understand the powerful connection between us, the children, the parents, and the community. Never stop. Reggio is still alive, but not because what Loris Malaguzzi, the parents, did, and the teacher of the time. Bye-bye. If there were no new teachers, new politicians, new parents, new citizens able to understand the essence of what they pioneered, the hero that started after the Second World War, and Loris Malaguzzi in 1963 with a group of teachers was able to, but nothing is written on stone, always on sand. So we have to write again, write again. And this is the only reason why I'm here, not only to meet friends, but to be encouraged by you and to encourage you to have the courage to continue. Please, we need alliance. More and more. We need you coming there and us coming here, our children moving. Alliance among our ministers, alliance among those that believe, really believe that peace is in our hand. It's a romantic, yes, I want to be also romantic. Because when I look at the television, and I have to be an educator, but I don't want to be fake. I want to offer what life offered to me at my age. The joy of being an educator. And let's help teachers, also high school teachers, to learn what we have learned, that learning and playing is the same things. Playful learning. Something that also we can do as adults. The joy of learning. Learning is a joy, can take a lot of energy, but is the, oh my God, I've learned this. And to learn more, and is the joy. But we are able sometimes to kill the children, telling them what they want to discover by themselves. And this is our famous pedagogy of listening come out. And as Jerome Brunner said, it's not something only for young children. It's something for human beings. Maria Montessori said, don't teach to the children what they can learn by themselves. It's true for the human being. Don't kill the desire to learn, please. To know and to travel in the universe.
Thank you.
My God, thank you.
No. There's an interesting one. We have a mutual friend called James Bradburn, and James runs museums. He's an expert in learning in museums. And that bit about how you learn in places and don't take them, let them find out for themselves. So quite a few years ago, I was talking to James, and my two oldest children were much younger. And he said, oh, you went to Paris? And I said, yeah, we went to Paris on holiday. I said, did you go to the Louvre? And I said, I went to the Louvre. And he said, and then you took them by the hand and you took them to the Mona Lisa, didn't you? And I said, yes, I did. And he said, they would have found that on their own, you know. And that's an interesting thought. I wanted to just briefly come to parents. parents as allies. But I sometimes wonder, before parents can be allies and co-educators, whether we need to, through making it all visible, whether we need to educate the parents more, involve them more, whatever the right terminology is, so that they are on our side, so that we can build this thing from the bottom up, really. Is that how you see it?
Can we ask them?
They've been very quiet on the sofa, I have to admit. They've been eating all the peanuts, and that's
So
it.
I have to try to. Parents are becoming, it's becoming more and more difficult to be a parent. And I thought the other day, looking at a younger relative of mine, also courageous. That's why the rate of births in Italy is going down and down. Yes, because we are becoming more egoistic, we want to have everything before to have a child, and the child is something that take off. But we didn't develop enough the narration of what the child can give you in this reciprocal. Remember always reciprocity and interdependence. Write these words, can be helpful for everything. But even if I said, and many of you can tell more and better, you too, what does it mean nowadays to be a parent? They are become, not because of this, but because of the big doubts that we have in front of us, more and more indispensable, because they are learning with us from different perspectives. When a child is born, a parent is born. A mother is born, a father is born. The only thing that you can tell them is to grow up together. And the school has to be a place where the three of them can be welcomed. The school has really to be an open space for them, for the community, where the 100 languages are not only for the children, but also for the parents. Not only because with our Arabian teacher, we need the parents, we need the teachers that are also able to speak a little bit more Arabic. And this is a key, and blah. But also because also some Italian, they don't like words and words. I don't go to school because you speak so much like me. Only words. But they are ready to come for helping you doing things, giving you advice, helping you to be the school of the community and for the community, and for the parents, and to invent many solutions during school time, after school time. The school has to become the place of encounter for the community and of the community. And if we go in places as we had the opportunity to be, try to develop spaces for parents in the more depressed area, not only in other countries like Africa, South Africa, and America, and South America, but in a period where educational poverty is not only in the economical poverty, in the place where there is economical poverty, but in our houses, wherever we are. When we go there, it's fantastic to see these people that are surprised to be trusted and recognized as better, as we do with the children and as we like to be. Better of value, better of competencies, better of something. I never forget when I went to the hospital, and I stayed there longer, more than a few days. I was for a long period the number of my bed. So, as I shared this morning, to go and encounter the parents' father in jail, or is a great opportunity to understand the real meaning of education and the power of children for parents. But they have to recognize children. They have to be supported. I know that is the hardest part for you sometimes. But there is no other solution than to speak the 100 languages also with the parents and to listen to the pedagogy of listening is a key element, not only for children and for documentation, that is the shape that we given.
Yeah.
We given.
Yeah, we've
See?
given.
Right, I'm surprised.
We have just over 15 minutes left.
Yeah.
We knew the time would fly
Yeah.
by, but our audience has been remarkably quiet through a room full of
I know,
Scots.
so well behaved.
I wonder if we might take some
Yes.
questions from the audience. I think, do we have a little? Oh, it's just going to.
There's a spare one here, I think.
Oh, is it there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Would anybody like to ask a question? Who'll be first? Make a point. I don't know if you can hear me without the mic or. I'll come.
Hi, just to follow up what you were saying there in terms of our cultures and parent view of play, particularly in our early years, which we're trying to develop currently in our school. We have a school which is very, very diverse. We have 48 nationalities in our school in one of the most deprived areas of the city of Glasgow. What we find is a real difference in the parents' attitude to education, especially in the early years. Culturally, many of our parents, the only way out of poverty for them in their lives is education.
Yes.
And many of them then wish, even when they come to parents' evenings, and you say to them, you know, your children's doing well in drama or art or dance, or actually you start with the positives. Many of them say, we only want to know about numeracy and literacy. How are they doing with maths and language? We then have the extreme of our families, many of we all deal with on a daily basis, of our often white Scottish families who either don't come, they don't take part in sessions that are offered for them. For them, education isn't important in certain circumstances. So I suppose it's for us to strike the balance of the needs or the wants of all of our families and our children, and we do highly try to engage with the play pedagogy and so on. So I guess I'm asking yourselves, but also the other educationalists here, how do you strike that balance as educators who are trying to put forward a particular style of teaching and particular style of learning to parents who often are quite resistant to it? Sorry, I've written a wee bit, but I hope you get the point.
How we can manage, sorry, because
No, it's okay. It's about how do you manage the parents and the expectations in a diverse community where there is poverty and people from all sorts of places. I think part of the answer, if I may start, is because also from my experience, is I said this once in a meeting in London, it's taken you since the 1944 Act to get it wrong. It'll take us more than 5 years to get it right. These are, what you're talking about, I think, is a cultural development. So again, from really practical experience, if I look at in my wife's school, she's been the head teacher in that school for 15 years. She probably talks now, after 15 years, with the greatest confidence ever of the changes that have been achieved. Partly also because the demographic has changed, incidentally, and that does help sometimes, because when you have parents who come from backgrounds where education is the only way up and out, that helps and helps to change the tone. And others may follow, but that takes time. And then moving into that numeracy and literacy piece, I think part of that solution lies in the dialogue, and part of that solution lies in making the learning visible. Time and time again, creatively, innovatively, tirelessly. Because in the end, you know you're right. You do, don't you? Yeah, you do, because you're the professionals. Right? So, but it also lies in the quality of the dialogue. And also, by the law of averages, you won't win them all. But I think we need to, it's a strange thing, isn't it? Because we want to do the right thing for all children now. But at the same time, we need to realize that those culture changes take time. Yeah. And whether that's the culture change of opening doors and courtesies and kindness, or an acceptance that being educated is more than the numeracy and the literacy. I hope that is some answer.
I totally agree, first of all. Second one, now the main goal of school is to regenerate humanity. I don't know if it's, it's enormous, I know, but I cannot define differently. We are in front of one of the most amazing phenomena that never happened, or in our memory does not exist. So I agree completely with him. I would like to know more about which kind of solution. It's a moment of big exchange. What I can tell you, what the fatigue of many of our teachers in Reggio, but I need to know all the fatigue of you and your colleagues here. The most difficulty is there are no easy recipe. Time is the recipe, and courage to accept uncertainty and risk. Obviously, parents ask, also in Italy, they do the same. I talk about the area where I live, but I listen. And especially family with economical problem, they want to have competencies that can be used quickly for money competencies and money. Obviously, it will take time, but we have to exercise also ourselves to be more strong. How many disciplines there are in Lucy?
Yes.
Is a monument to the state of imitation, the responsibility, equilibrium, the premises of mathematics, how dance can be full of disciplines. It's something that we have also to learn, because also for us it was easier to think, I do math, I do this, dot, 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 interconnection, interdependency, and time. The time is the only real important thing that we can offer to the children, and is the most expensive.
I also think, just to add to that I think we need to, the dialogue needs to be about experiences rather than achievements and attainments. Yeah, so because essentially our schooling and our education system is there to serve society, not the economy and not the grade system. And the experience, so when we started Children's University, this was a very hot debate, because what people wanted was booster classes in maths, right? And I'm kind of going, I'm not doing this, I'm going home, right? We're just not doing this. So I used to sit in staff rooms, and there were whiteboards. They'd just been invented, I think, at the time. So there were lots of whiteboards in staff rooms, right? And I used to write 10 things that I thought every child should experience by the age of 11. And then I left the rubber next to it and just walked out, because I wasn't expecting people to, and I didn't put numbers either. And then people started to kind of go, and those experiences were, they were not getting grades in maths. Those experiences were going to the theatre, being part of a team, visiting the capital city, doing things, right? Experiencing things, and then you move that on. So what you do is you move the dialogue, not away from quality or standards, but you're widening it, you're giving it purpose. And I think that's incredibly important. And the other thing I would say is that it's taken me 40 years to realize that in school, the words "for example" are probably the two most important words we can use, because every time we use the words "for example," we tell a story. And every time we tell a story, we give purpose. And there is something around that. Try the whiteboard thing. Yeah. Try it with your staff. Try it with the parents. And it'll take you away from the levels in numeracy and literacy in their minds, because other things begin to matter.
Again, example, in the meaning that you are... during COVID period, that one that you have been commenting before, in Reggio, I think there was the need to offer more spaces than the school building, because not all the children, because of the spaces that we needed to create, so the children were welcome, but not the same group of children in the school, because we were needing, I don't know if I'm clear, more space for the distances, for all the rules that have been. Starting from this need, as usual, need can really be generative in creativity. The municipality of Reggio, the assessor and the group of people, colleagues, they decided not in early childhood, but in primary school, to find the places around the city. Do you remember Dewey experience? So, school in the museum, school in a bank, in the building of a bank, with all the consequences. School in agritourism, is clear. They went back to normality, but some of them, they want to stay there. Is another version of what Ger was telling you, but really is to recognize, to remember that we come from the culture that is very also Anglo-Saxon. The 60s, you had a wonderful period in that period, where places were becoming a place where to learn, not only how to do, but why to do. Because what our children and our teenagers are missing is the reason why. Why, the meaning of school, the meaning of life. We continue to, when we are lucky, we say how, that is very important. But why? And to discuss about this why. And to grow with them. Why? And the children are the bearer of the why. So go with them. And we have to teach to the parents what we have to teach to ourselves. Go with them to find the answer to the why. Because we know what we have been taught does not exist anymore. Not what I was taught because of my age, but also what many of you have been taught. Even if the future is future. It's not far away. It's here, in this room, in your mind, in your heart. Go to school with both. Not easy, but the best therapy for lifelong learning.
Thank you.
More questions? Are we running out of time?
We have run out of time, I'm afraid. And I think, Ollie, you're going to just say a few words just now, please?
I am. Yeah, I'll just go back.
Come here.
Come here. I'm scared. So, first of all, can we just get a big round of applause, please? Two fabulous speakers. I don't know about you, but my brain's ticking over like big time. And I've already had an hour of this today, this morning. I think my brain feels like it's going to explode. But I just kind of really love the warmth of that conversation. Does that make sense? You know, around that. And actually, everything that you've said during the last half an hour really kind of oozed warmth. And it kind of oozed everything that you were saying, which is important for education, around that early childhood education, but also the change that I think that we would all like to see within our schools in Scotland and further afield. And there were some lovely things that you said, but coming through for me in particular was just that word trust all the time. Trusting the children, trusting the system, trusting each other, working together, a real warmth behind that collaboration. The bit about relationships between the adult and the child and the child, our role as adults in facilitating that. I love that bit around, in challenging times, we need to be careful not to lose our humanity. And then I love the warmth later on around, but teachers and educators, they can recreate that humanity as well. I mean, these are really powerful and I think important words. I love that bit about we need to create a society where things are visible, that the learning is visible, that children are visible, and that the role of the adult in facilitating that learning is visible as well. All just such important things. And then just that kind of really realistic approach, I think, around that it's tricky. And actually cultural change takes time. But if we do that, unashamedly, like you've both done, where we put children at the absolute heart of everything that we do, and we make sure that children are our role models in how we carry out our practice, then we've got every possible chance, of succeeding there. So I just want to again sort of say thank you to both of you for almost inviting us into your home this evening around that, because that's kind of what it's felt like. Thank you for the warm conversation, but also taking on the challenging questions, and I think sort of challenging all of us, in our thinking as well. And I said this very quickly earlier, is that if you've had an opportunity, or ever have an opportunity to go to Reggio, and I'm lucky enough to have visited, and I was saying this to Carla earlier, is that it is actually, in many ways, quite a life-changing opportunity to go there and to see what's happened. And we were having a conversation earlier around change, like how do we bring that sort of change on? And we were laughing a little bit earlier because actually what goes on in Reggio is fantastic. But that doesn't go on in every part of Italy. But when I was in Reggio, I was there with educators from Denmark, and I bumped into people from New Zealand and Australia and Chile as well. And there were all of these people there just learning, and someone described it at the time, this is about taking this practice, making sure it's culturally relevant to our context around that's so important, and just sort of gently nudging the system forward as we go as well. I think that's what we need to do, keep on nudging the system. And as an aside to that, Carla also taught me how to make pasta. That's a completely different story that we'll talk about another time. So thanks again to our wonderful speakers this evening.